is a powerful path when you can step in and find something that really works for you. And the message I want to say is that if something's not working for you, then stop doing it. Just because everybody else tells you that it should work and they say, well, you're just not trying hard enough, keep doing this. If it's not working, it's not meant for you.
Cue music. Places, everybody places. We're starting in 3, 2.
It's time for Life Interrupted Radio, a show dedicated to practical skills for your mind, body, and soul. We're hoping we'll go in one ear and stay there. Here's the host of the show, Sharon Sayler.
Welcome to the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio, where we look at the rise of autoimmune disorders. The NIH estimates nearly 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder. To put that in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. You'll be as surprised as I was to find out what autoimmune entails. I brought together top experts that range from doctors, specialists, nutritionists, researchers, and even those recovering from autoimmune to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information about autoimmunity and how to live your life uninterrupted. So let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio. I'm your host, Sharon Sayler from SharonSayler.com. And it's my Friday. I hope it's your Friday, too, or at least a break that you've got looking forward to. I'm down here in sunny Florida. I know half of the northern part is still freezing. It's still a little chilly down here, but it's nothing like what the people up north are going through. So I'm not going to say I'm curled up with anything except my chai tea again, but I'm not needing it because it's actually quite lovely outside right now. So yeah, I'm just really been enjoying it. The tea's good too. I made some actually homemade almond milk again. I'm really into making that homemade almond milk. It's so simple. You guys should try it. Anyway, I've got some fun things planned this weekend. I'm going to the farmer's market, and one of my favorite vendors, if you've listened to the show at all, I try to find farmer's markets wherever I go. And this particular farmer's market is seasonal, so he's not here year-round. But one of my favorite vendors is going to be there, and he has the best turmeric root. I love it. I love to juice it. It's a little bit tangy, a little bit zippy with some of his, he calls it baby ginger. Talk about, whoa, but it is awesome. So that's what I'm doing this weekend. I hope you're doing something fun. And tonight we've got somebody fun too. She, among so many things, but I'm just going to tell you right now, she just loves to have a good time. And that's what I love about Kerri Hummingbird, besides so many other things that you're going to find out why I love this girl. She is an award-winning author, soul guide, host of the Soul Nectar Show. That is an awesome show. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, go over to iTunes, find it, Soul Nectar Show. I'll have the link on the website. She's an intuitive subconscious explorer who helps women who are starving for meaning in their lives and to step into their power and their voice. And that, me, always talking about having that confidence and that ability to stand up for yourself, be your best self-advocate. She has founded the Skills Not Pills movement to invite people to dive into the spiritual journey of awakening. And we'll talk more about that too. So welcome, Kerri. Thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thanks for inviting me to come on. This is so much fun. I'm so excited to be on your show.
I know. I miss you. We haven't chatted in a while.
We'd like to have fun.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. Last time we had a great time up in Calgary not too long ago, too. So, it's so much fun to have people I know on the show that I so much enjoy their work. But you have, just an amazing story. Will you share with us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, sure. So, I've had quite a journey with my mind and coming to a place where I can be happy and joyful and solid, like show up in relationships fairly predictably and
I love how you talk like that.
Fairly joyfully, But, that wasn't always the case. I mean, I spent many years in psychotherapy on a therapist's couch, talking about my problems and trying to figure out, I was about half of my life was like, what's wrong with Kerri? Because, she's so smart and so talented, and why can't she just get her stuff together? What's up with her? Like, why does she get so far and then go wing-wang the other way and go do crazy things? So that was kind of my family's journey with me too. And through the long story made short, I realized that the reason why I was having so many problems was because I had some early childhood stuff that got really stuck in my framework. I had some early childhood abuse right from the time I was 1. My natural father was, he was starting to molest me at 1 year old, if you can imagine that.
Oh my gosh, I can't. That's hard.
At 1 year old, and my mom found him doing that, and she immediately was like, we're out of here. And this is back in the day, 1969, 1970 in Texas, where they wanted pictures of it before they believe, that it was happening. And my mom said, well, you're not going to get pictures. I'm just taking her away. But the thing is, the second guy she married was like a violent drunk. So it was like frying pan into the fire. So my first 5 years was like very dark and scary, and like hiding in my bedroom. And the time when your child is like, you want your child to have the best, is like, this is what I was going through. So from the time I was 5 on, I think best dad ever. Like, he was awesome. My mom met Mr. Right, third time's a charm, and he was great. He was a great dad, and he just passed away. So, that's something I've been going through this fall, but what an amazing dad. So, so there's always been like this Jekyll and Hyde inside of Kerri.
That's an interesting way to explain it, because we've had numerous guests on, both ones who have been through it, the thrivers. We don't use the word survivors here. We're always talking about we are thrivers. We get
thriving.
Yeah, we thrive. We get through it, as well as people, doctors, professionals who talk about what they call ACE, which I just hate that acronym. Let's see. Childhood experience, adverse childhood experience.
Yes.
That so minimizes it.
It so minimizes it. Terrifying childhood experience. And the thing that does to you, I realized, is that it really makes you have a lack of trust. It makes you really, at a deep level, like, your mind is telling you, I can trust this person. Why am I having a problem? But like, deep inside, you just can't. Like, and you like act out in weird ways, or you perceive things in ways that aren't really true. So there's a lot of things that I realized were going on, and the psychotherapy helped me in some ways it helped me a lot to navigate thought tunnels. Like, I'm really good at thought tunnels now.
You said something, though, about I can trust this person, but my mind tells me differently. And I'm thinking, if you're 0 to even, 14, 10, 15, I don't know, but not 5, 0 to whatever. How many times as a small child do we just take somebody else's word for it? An authority figure, mom, dad, teacher, whatever, that I'm trustworthy, or no, you can trust Joe over there. You can trust Susan over there. And the one that just so much talk about today is where we just go give them a hug, and forcing little people to do things they really intuitively don't want to do. And I think that's this fascinating area that I've been exploring, that's helped me as I started to thrive even more. My healing accelerated when I started examining previous trauma. And not all of it was from childhood. Some of it was self-inflicted at a much older age.
Well, yeah, it's ongoing, right? It creates a frequency, is what I realized. So a lot of my work that actually helped me was subconscious. And it wasn't until I was really 40 years old and I left my marriage. I was in a 20-year relationship that was, of course, reflecting to me all those patterns of things. He wasn't physically abusive to me, but he was mentally abusive and emotionally abusive. And it was because he had his own abuse, that he was dealing with from his childhood. So we were mirroring to each other, like, all that stuff that we both had to deal with. So bless his heart, we were going through some difficult things together. And when I finally left, because I said, I watched my mom and my dad have a really good relationship, and this isn't that. We keep trying to make it that, but it's not like that. I need to go work on me. It's too much chaos in my brain. My brain was on overdrive. I was waking up with nightmares. I was waking up with these nightmares of like being choked and I can't speak, like, like you're trying to speak and you can't scream for help. Like you're like trapped in there. It was terrifying. So I finally left and I said, you know what? If I'm bad, I'm just going to be bad. And I think that was the thing that really saved me, because I finally said, I'm just going to be me. And shortly after that is when I got my first spiritual teacher. And I finally was open because I thought, it's not going to be the same way. I'm not going to go sit on a couch and talk about how bad I am or why I'm doing these things that I can't control, or, how to like look inside me and find what's wrong. I'm tired of doing it that way. I want to do it a different way. And then I found this path where it's not about that at all. It's the opposite. It's like upside down world. It's like, what's right about you?
Yes. Oh my God.
You
know what's so funny is that I have found every time I get to that point where I say, that's it, I'm done. And I really mean it. Sometimes I've said, that's it, never again, but that's not the same. It's like this physical outburst of, that's it, I'm done. All of a sudden everything switches and it does become upside down world. That's when the teachers appear, or whatever you're supposed to be learning appears in that moment. And I find that so fascinating that when it takes us getting to a certain point. And that's where I keep wanting to pay attention, that I don't have to dig so deep next time. So
well, that's called awareness. So one of the teachers I got led to is a Toltec teacher, and the Toltec teachings are all about the 4 agreements. If people have read that book by Don Miguel Ruiz, such a great book. Oh my God, I love that book. It's like, I wish that would be a handbook for all elementary school kids.
What a great idea.
Just give them, that's your first reading assignment in first grade, because it's really simple. It's written really easy, and it's so helpful. Don't take it personally. Do your best. Be impeccable with your word. Don't make assumptions. These are all wonderful teachings. And he explains how not to do all those things, which I was always confused about, so it's a powerful path when you can step in and find something that really works for you. And the message I want to say is that if something's not working for you, then stop doing it. Just because everybody else tells you that it should work, and they say, well, you're just not trying hard enough, keep doing this. If it's not working, it's not meant for you. Like, keep looking for the thing that works, because when you find the thing that works, it flows and it opens up and it works, and you find some solutions, you find some relief.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can even relate that to my autoimmune thriving journey. The experiences I went through early on, there was a lot of, I'll say, hit and miss. And sometimes it was just a personality clash with the provider, the professional. It was just like, or I find that I'm very highly sensitive to a lot of things. If somebody said, take 2 and you'll feel better in the morning, 2 would be way too much for my body. So I know that about myself, that many people at first, don't believe it or whatever. And that's the part where I always say, if it's, what is that quote by Einstein? You keep doing over and over.
Oh, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Right. And I think that works in our health and our relationships and our, not just our whole life, but I think about that in our health, that just because it worked for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work for us. And I love that. I appreciate that you bring that up.
And there's another aspect too, which is, I found is really powerful, was don't identify with the labels. The labels are so damaging. They are so damaging. It's part of that whole negative thing. It's like, I want to define who you are. And so I can, like, quote, help you. But by the way, I'm making it all up and I really don't know how to help you. I'm speaking on behalf of the medical industry right now,
Well, what bothered me
We're guessing.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I got my diagnosis, the body language alone, I didn't know what the word meant, dermatomyositis. Goodness sakes, that could be supercalifragilistic I didn't know what it meant. And so I just knew it was a long word and I was going to have to figure out how to spell it. I'm such a creative speller. But anyway, that's a different story. Their body language alone, I went, this isn't good. But what was interesting to me, the minute I had that label, it was almost if it was branded on my forehead, and everybody made assumptions. And when I told them, look, I'm going to be off all of these meds in 3 years. This is not who I am. And I would hear things like, get real, Sharon. You're not being realistic. That was so annoying to me, because the use of words is so powerful on our subconscious. And I'm preaching to the choir here with Kerri, I know, but I just want the audience to, when someone says you have, and they give you a label, the subconscious, if it's an authority figure or an assumed authority figure, you go, oh my goodness. Okay. And then start believing it. That's the problem with the word have. I was experiencing something, but that didn't mean I have it. And I tried to explain that to my professional one time when he gave me the label. And I said, look, I don't have dermatomyositis. And he's like, going into the get real thing. I said, look, I can have cockroaches, but that doesn't mean I own them. That means there's something in the way, in the experience that I don't want, and I want to get rid of them. And so that's my whole speech on these ideas of labels. And I'm glad you bring them up because they can be so damaging. And I know Kerri knows this. 3 years and 2 months later, off all meds. I missed it by 2 months. Except I don't know why I just didn't tell him I was going to be over it in 3 months, Where did that 3 years come from? I don't know. But anyway.
Some part of you knew how much time it was going to take the physical reality.
But I moved through it.
Those labels are really, really difficult because I remember the labels that I got a number of labels. They couldn't decide what I was, right? See, this is where they're just guessing. They're just making it all up. They're making it up. And then they tell you like an authority, and then you're supposed to own it, like that's who you are. And people do. That's why I've launched the Skills Not Pills, because people take that label on, they live their life as if they're doom and gloom and like, that's the way I have to live the rest of my life. And I'm going to be on these pills forever because they said so. No, it's not true. But it feels real. And that, I got to tell you, I'm a very empowered person, as you can tell. Like, I'm like my mother's daughter. I'm very like, don't tell me what, because
we call you a polarity responder. We tell you one thing and we know we'll get one of those. I'll show you.
Yeah, go ahead and tell me I can't. And, they gave me the diagnosis. They told me first they told me I was manic depressive. That was when I was 15. I was 15, and they told me I was manic depressive. I'm 15. What 15-year-old isn't manic depressive? Come on. And then they told me I was, but he said, oh, but you're probably bipolar, but I won't put that on your record. On my record. And, and I'm already I've already got the complex about being a bad girl, from my early childhood, right? Like I am bad, so that just fed right into that. And then by the time I was 38, I was really like the proverbial, SHT was hitting the fan. I don't know about your audience, so I don't want to swear. But it was hitting the fan, and I was like, my marriage was collapsing. I was cheating on my husband. I mean, I really was doing behavior that was outside of my control. Like, I didn't know what was going on, and I'd never even been that way before. And I thought, wow, things have gotten to a whole new level of crazy. And then they told me, oh, well, you're borderline personality. And I'm like, borderline personality? I went and looked it up on the internet, and at the time, the Wikipedia definition of that was just horrendous. Like, it was awful. And I could check every box, like everything they said. I was like, I started walking around with that label. And you know what it did for me? It was, oh, well, I am borderline personality. That's why I'm crazy. That's why I can do whatever I want, because I have this label. See, poor me. And it's because of my childhood abuse. So then I could kind of walk around like, I can just do this because. And I did, like I was a victim, completely on the victim corner. And I'm not a victim person. So that's why I want to say, like, I'm a very strong person, and still that worked on me to put me right into that triangle of disempowerment.
I think a lot of us that were raised from early on to believe certain people in our life that will tell us what is experts and all of that.
The experts.
The experts, yes. The guessing experts.
But they guess, but they're, now, Sharon, now we know about quantum physics. Now we know that all they did was spot the possibility in the quantum field, and then they made it so. And then you agreed with it, so you took it on.
Yeah. Well, we'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with Kerri Hummingbird, because we're just going down all sorts of fascinating.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. So we'll be right back, guys. Enjoy this. We'll be right back.
Life Interrupted Radio will return after these messages from our sponsors. It's great sponsors like these that keep this show coming to you every week. Be sure and stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com to learn more.
Hi, this is Sharon, and of course you know me from here on the Autoimmune Hour, but maybe you didn't know I'm also an author, mostly nonfiction. But recently I delved into the world of children's fiction with the Pinky Chenille series. The first book launched just a couple of weeks ago, and it's already getting awesome reviews. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. If you haven't had a chance to check out Pinky Chenille and the Rainbow Hunters, go over and check it out at pinkychenille.com. That's Pinky, P-I-N-K-Y, Chenille, CHENILLE.com. Thanks. See you there.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living, a chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
I'm Fidel Mshombo. I was born in a city called the Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio. I'm your host, Sharon Sayler from SharonSayler.com. And oh my goodness, we're here today with the fascinating Kerri Hummingbird. She's an award-winning author, soul guide, host of the Soul Nectar Show, an intuitive subconscious explorer who helps. She always talks about women, but I said people because she helps people who are starving for meaning in their lives to step into their power and voice. And we've been talking about a little bit about both our histories of becoming thrivers, as well as she's founded a movement called Skills Not Pills. And that's to help people, invite them to dive into a spiritual journey of awakening and understand that a lot of times it's this understanding, trust, safety, skills, all sorts of things that we can bring to the table that help us put our lives back in order. That we're not broken people, right, Kerri?
We're not broken, but you know, when they give you a diagnosis like that, Sharon, you really think you're broken. I used to walk around telling people, well, I'm just broken, you know, and then I would just cry and feel sad for myself. And I finally, you know, here was a really powerful thing that happened. I got spiritual teachers, right? And I had some really amazing experiences. We won't get into that right now because it's like too much to cover. It's like so fantastical and amazing, but it's in my book, Awakening to Me. So those journeys are in there. But a really key thing that happened near the end of my training at school, at the Four Winds, when I was studying to be, you know, to do this energy healing stuff, they had a practice where you took a word that was trapping you energetically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically.
Wow.
You took a word that was trapping you, and you used your body, and you used like archetypal forces and energies, and you used your prayer to break free and to evolve that word into a word that was empowering you. So as I did, it was such an empowering experience.
Fascinating.
I mean, I recommend this for anyone who's gotten a diagnosis. Like, this is such a powerful experience. And to move through and energetically sort of like feel like, what is that word doing inside of you? And then to work with it. And if it makes you angry, like to get angry. And if it makes you feel trapped, like just demonstrate that. And then to try to like break free of your prison. And as I did that, moving through these perceptual states of like, you know, how am I perceiving things? Am I perceiving things, you know, in my body, or am I perceiving it from my emotions? Perceiving in all these different ways. I transformed the word borderline into boundless.
Oh, wonderful.
And that is way more true.
Yes, that is way more true. That's the Kerri I know. That's way more true. Absolutely. I love that. Now, how did you, But the borderline, that's obviously part of a diagnosis, one of the many diagnoses that you receive.
They just couldn't figure me out at all.
Oh, right. Now, I can see where I could put it into some of my diagnoses, but can it just be maybe any word that somehow nags at you?
Any word that nags at you, like you just feel like stuck by that word, or, the crazy word was another one for me. Crazy, you're so crazy. I've had to work on that one for years. And the thing is, what is crazy? This is where I finally got to that one. What is crazy? They used to call Einstein crazy. Crazy is something you don't understand because it's so brilliant. You just don't get it.
Right.
It's outside the norm. That's crazy. And that's what a lot of us are doing as thought leaders. We're outside the norm. I just interviewed Swami and Swami Tirtha. And Swami's like, I got a whole lot of crazy badges that I wear. People are always calling me crazy, but I talk about joy, and I talk about how we're in, where it's time to play. And it's right, we're in the time of play now, and we're flipping the whole paradigm upside down. So a lot of people are going to be confused right about now because the energy is flipping, it's actually like upside down world, and we're going right side up, And so people are going to be having this experience of like, oh, so now it was all about work and all about judging ourselves and being critical and, having these negative experiences. Now we're going to flip it and we're going to be having play and joy. And what? I'm supposed to get there from here?
Absolutely. We had Swami on. If you're interested in it, check back on the older shows. I'm trying to remember. He was on in the fall, and he's just a fantastic
He's delightful.
guy. He's just fantastic. Years ago, I was going through a particularly bad patch in my life, and I've had friends take me to a Dharma dialogue, and I had never been to one, and I was sort of sitting in the back on, what is this? This is very fascinating, but what is this? And I remember two words specifically, and this is 20 plus years ago. And so, have you ever been to those events where somebody says something and it just sticks like glue? And I have been carrying around those two words ever since I heard them, and they were always the words practice joy. And he was talking about how we're told to practice everything in our life. Practice at your career, practice at, an athletic endeavor, practice in a musical endeavor, practice a foreign language. But he says, how come nobody ever tells you to practice being happy and practice joy? And I was like, yeah, how come nobody ever tells you that? So I love that idea of bringing that into our lives.
It's the perspective. It's like, what are you going to focus on? Whatever you focus on grows. And if you look at it, Western culture is focused on finding what's wrong. So we catalog it, like the list of diseases in Western culture is humongous. Like there's thousands of diseases. If you go to the Amazon forest, they don't have that. That doesn't exist for them. They don't have like 50 million types of cancer.
Yes.
It doesn't exist for them. They actually just don't have it. And actually the founder of my school, Alberto Vialdo, the one reason why he started doing this shamanic work is because he got paid by the pharmaceutical companies to go down to the jungle and research, like, how come there's no diseases down there? Like, they only die of old age. Like, what is wrong with them? Clearly, we have billions of diseases, so what's wrong with them? And he wanted to find out, like, what's going on? And they went down there, and he realized this whole thing, and he quit working for the pharmaceutical. He said, you know what? It's because of the mentality. The whole mentality needs to shift. And there's another story along this line, another shaman story, because I love shaman stories, because they think totally outside the box. I interviewed Shaman Durek on my show, and he is a third-generation African shaman. And he talked about how when he goes, when the shaman goes to the village and somebody's sick, and the shaman takes the person away from everybody else and puts them in a safe place away. Mm-hmm. And then the relatives come to visit. The relative that comes up is like, oh, I want to see my relative. I feel so bad for my sick person. Da, 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 da. And he says, well, why? Why do you want to see? Well, because they're so sick and I feel so bad and I don't want them to be sick. And they focus on the sick. He says, go away. You can't come in. Somebody else comes up and says, why do you want to come in? Well, because I know that they're going to get better and I just want to hold their hand and I know everything is going to be great for them and I'm sure it's going to be better. Come on in. You can come in. If you can hold that higher vision, you're welcome in. because that's what the person really needs. They don't need all the other stuff.
Oh, I love that. I haven't heard that. I love that. I'm adopting that. I love that.
It's like a whole different way of thinking about things, isn't it?
It is. Although I'm thinking to myself, I knew I was going to get well. So
yes.
I mean, I knew that I was. So you're right. There were certain people in my life that even non-medical professionals, family members that that went on Dr. Google and read it and got terrified and sort of kept stuck in that terrified, oh my gosh, that's what Sharon has. Oh my gosh. Oh, I know.
Yeah, and when they do that, all it does is feeding that. It's feeding the thing you don't want to feed. It's that old story of the wolves. Like, which wolf are you going to feed? The white wolf or the black wolf? It's your choice. You fed the white wolf. You said, you know what? This thing, I am not that. It's an experience I'm having. I'm going to learn from the experience, but I know I'm not that thing. I don't identify as that thing. I am this vast, brilliant light that's called Sharon Sayler, and I have a beautiful message to bring in the world, and I'm learning so I can bring their message, and I'm having this experience so I can identify with the people that are listening to my show. Period. I am not that.
Yeah, I think, and that's powerful words. I am not that, because that is important to keep in mind, and not just in our wellness journey. What could be anybody giving you any sort of label, that you're strong enough to stand up and say, I am not that. And that's really important. And Kerri and I could just go on and on, but gosh,
I could.
I'm running past these commercial breaks too fast here. I know the producers are going to be pulling their hair out. We need to take another quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
What are all the things you witness online in a day? Cats playing piano, selfies on your feed, your friend's picture being turned into a nasty meme that's been shared 50 times, 51, 52. When someone's being bullied online, it's hard to know what to do. Now you can speak up with the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio. I'm your host, Sharon Sayler from SharonSayler.com, and we're here with the marvelous Kerri Hummingbird. She is the host of the Soul Nectar Show, a soul guide, award-winning author, and an intuitive subconscious explorer who helps people who are starving for meaning in their lives step into their own power and voice. And you can be hearing that so far with Kerri's been sharing just some really great wisdom to understand the labels that are put on us, that are you either accept them or you don't. I'm in the flavor of most of them you don't, unless it's a nice label. I'll take any nice labels. And we've been talking to Kerri about her skills, not pills movement. So, Kerri, this is so fascinating to me, this idea of how much of what we're going through, what we're experiencing, is in the physical body, and how much is in the emotional body, the subconscious, we'll say the energetic parts of us. How does one sort of begin to unpack all of that? It seems like to me it would be like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Where'd that come from? It hurts, but maybe it is really just a thought.
Well, I really believe it all starts off as thoughts. It begins as a thought that creates an emotion. And then if it's not processed, it gets stuck in the body. So everything is energy. Everything is energy. It's different densities of energy. So you have energy inside of you. You're not solid. You think you are, but if you look at quantum physics, we'll actually know that you're filled with a bunch of space. Actually, you're more space than anything else. And so is everything. The table isn't as solid as you think it is. It's filled with space. There's this great video by Jill Bonte Taylor, Stroke of Insight. So for people that are really left-brained and they don't believe any of this, she's a brain scientist, and she actually had a stroke in her left brain. And when the left brain shut down, all of a sudden she could put her hand through the wall. She's like, what's going on? Like the wall's not solid, But she thought it was, because we think it is. But it's just an illusion. So the energy, everything is energy at different densities. So it starts off in the energy, and then it becomes a thought. And then if it's a thought that provokes, maybe there's a trigger inside of you or some experience you had, that kind of pokes at, creates an emotion. And then what happens when most of us have an emotional reaction? In this culture, we're sort of like shamed for emotions, where it's like, oh, stuff that, this isn't the place for that.
Big girls don't cry and
big
everything.
Girls don't cry and boys don't cry, and and this isn't the time or place for that. It's usually, well, when is the time or place for that? We're human. So usually there's some kind of emotional reaction and we're not processing it. We're stuffing it.
Yeah.
And then and then it gets to be so much that we stuff that then it feels overwhelming to open Pandora's box, because it's like, oh, if I open that box and think about that thing from the past, I'll cry and I won't be able to stop, or I'll be so angry I won't be able to get over it, or, so the volume goes up. And that volume going up is actually your body telling you, because then pain starts, right? Then the pain starts somewhere. So it manifests, it thickens and it gets toxic, and it thickens and it gets more dense, and it becomes something that causes pain in the body. The pain in the body is there to show you what you need to heal.
What I find fascinating is oftentimes we say out loud what it is. Like,
we know what it is.
They're a pain in the neck, and then all of a sudden you're like realizing, why does my neck hurt? Well,
because I just had somebody with a pain in the neck who's talking to me.
Exactly. So pay attention to what you're giving voice to, because oftentimes there's a lot of truth behind what comes out at least comes through your thoughts, if not out your mouth.
So how do you resolve that? Is that you work with somebody who can teach you how to process and dissolve your emotional energy, and who can help you to do a different way of processing. It's not talking about it. It's not from the mind. It's more feeling. So you want to be able to learn how to process and track. I use the word track the feeling and tune in. Say, tune into the part of your body that's hurting in a way that you can now bring your awareness through that energy and let it kind of like burst open and release what it was holding. And then it'll get really big for a while and it'll feel uncomfortable, because we're usually uncomfortable with that kind of toxic emotion, because it's been, it's like green slime and you just like opened it up inside you. But you want to like breathe through that, let that get really, really big. The bigger it gets, then it dissolves, and it just sort of, it just wants to be witnessed. That's basically what it wants to be witnessed. So you find somebody to help you do that. There's all kinds of practitioners that do, emotional release techniques.
Right. And there's multiple ways of doing emotional release techniques. Everything from actually the energetic work to craniosacral to, I'm thinking
acupuncture, EMDR.
Yeah, tapping, visceral manipulation, many, many ways to look at this emotional release. And I also suggest journaling. I think it's really important to journal what's going on, because, and I was taught years ago to journal only on the right side while you're going through it. And then whatever you choose, 2 weeks, a month, 6 months, whatever you choose, go back and read what you wrote. And on the left-hand page, write what's changed. And that is so fascinating to me. Like, how am I processing what I just read on the right side now? You'll begin to see context where things are going askew, and you'll begin to see patterns and triggers where things are like, wow, I didn't realize that about myself, but every time X happens, I seem to write these very emotional journal entries or that are all about the same context. And it was fascinating to me to begin to see the patterns that when we go day to day, we don't see them. But when we go back and reflect, they are so obvious. They're as obvious to us as they are to our friends. And how many of us know someone? I have a dear, dear friend that just up until a few years ago, every time I met a new boyfriend, I was like, same man, different body. And she couldn't see the patterns, but all of us were like, but we see the patterns. And I think journaling that way, only on the right side, and then going back and reflecting later, writing on the left side, what's changed, what's different, what's happening now, and writing the patterns that you're seeing will give you a lot of insight. And if you're working with somebody that's doing energy work, they'll be able to see that even quicker because there's
the intuitive channel is open. Yeah. But we learn, doing the healing work, you learn how to turn your brain off because it's not helpful. So.
We'll both turn our brain off right now as well as our mouse because we've been blowing through our quick commercial breaks here. We've only got a short time left and I need to get another commercial break in, otherwise the producer has a cow. So we'll be right back in just a minute.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Research shows we apologize up to 10 times a day, and most of the time, we say sorry as a response to someone else's mistake. What if we thanked people instead of all that unnecessary apologizing? So instead of saying, sorry, I'm rambling, you say, thank you for listening. Join us at projectforgive.com, a free, non-religious resource on global forgiveness.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio. I'm your host, Sharon Sayler from SharonSayler.com. And tonight, I'm just having an hysterical time with my dear friend, Kerri Hummingbird. When we get together, we go all over the place, but that's okay. We're sharing so much, guys. I know you're going to be enjoying it because this is ways to look at healing that very few people will tell you the truth about. Very few people say, your body knows, and it's different for everyone. There is no one way, right, Kerri?
Yeah, it's your path. And I think that's the major message that I've gotten from my guides, is the reason why the Skills Not Pills is so important is to really wake people up to start the journey. You are here to take command of your own life journey. You are here to, navigate this big puzzle. You've got a life puzzle, and you got to find all the pieces and put them together and figure out how they go. It's your puzzle, and you got a lot of help. If you ask for help, you got plenty of help figuring it out. But it's really your puzzle, and that's what you came here to do. You didn't come here to just have an easy ride the whole time. That's no fun. You know, you want to have something to figure out. So this is not a bad thing. It's not, the pain isn't bad. The pain is a way of telling you something that you overlooked. That is, you know, it's like a big stop line that says, yeah, pay attention to this. You know, this is like your marker of like where the gold nugget's hidden. You process that and then you move on to a new lesson. So I think that's really the message. I think a lot of us have given over our sovereignty to external authorities that claim to know what they're doing. They're experts, but guess what, folks? They're making it up. They're giving their best guess. They don't know. They're guessing.
That's a fascinating to me. And the other thing I noticed is a lot of times we want a finish line. It's like, okay, I'm tired of this lesson. And then you maybe move through that or take a pill, whichever, but you're tired of that lesson. And then all of a sudden the next lesson pops up and you're like, why me? I'm taking time to realize that's life. Each one of us goes from lesson to lesson to lesson. It's not like
there's no end to the lessons. You know, they just there's an endless supply of lessons to learn. So, you know, enjoy the one you're on.
Oh, right, exactly. I always say, sometimes people always talk about, you know, there are no silly questions, but as we go through the lesson, if you're asking better questions, you're actually making progress. And that's the key point to me. We may never know the final answer. Well, who knows, after the passing, maybe, perhaps, but we may never know the final answer. But as long as you keep asking better questions about yourself or the world or whatever is going on in your life, you're making progress.
You're making progress and you're learning the whole time. I bet if, you know, this is where the journaling thing you were recommending comes in really handy, because when you journal, then you can look back a year ago and go, wow, that's where I was then. You know, then you can really see your progress. I got to tell you, when I wrote my memoir, Awakening to Me, I wrote it because I was, you know, guided to write it. I was like, pushed to write it. I didn't want to write it, but I wrote it, and I had to be completely vulnerable and honest and transparent when writing it. That was important because I was charting the course out of madness, and, you know, I had to make a clear path. And I remember, I look back at it now and it's like, I don't believe that. I can't believe I ever thought that way or that I ever made those choices. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm such a different person. I'm not even the same person. I look at old pictures of me. I'm like, who is that? I don't even know who that is. I don't resonate. That's the beauty of transformational work. You know, so that's fun to me to see the progress.
And the other part is, I always think when I think back when my children were little and I was like, oh, I'll remember that funny story. I'll remember that crazy word they said for, you know, this or that. No.
No, you got to write it down. You got to take pictures. You got to write it down. You got to log it, because you won't even believe it later. If you're really doing this work, you'll be stunned later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that can be for the illness transformation as well. I remember when I started the Autoimmune Hour, and I look back at some of the pictures when I had lost all my hair and things, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, really? That was only, 2.5 years ago? Really? It seems like a lifetime ago. So, man, more things just constantly change. That's the one thing we can count on. Oh my goodness. So, Kerri, we're down to just about 5 or 6 minutes, and let's share some of your best tips out here, because I know I've just guided you down a dozen different rabbit holes today, and I know you're just a wealth of great tips on being able to unlock our energy. What if we are feeling stuck and we're saying, well, maybe that pain really is emotional, and we're at that place where, so give us some great tips that you have so that people can at least begin the journey on.
Absolutely. So I've been figuring this out. So here's a really good analogy. So what we're doing is we're transforming from the place we're at and going to the place we want to be, which is way more free of the situation that we're currently in. So if you think of the current situation, you're a caterpillar. Then you're going to go into the chrysalis. And the chrysalis, there's just a complete disintegration of everything you thought was true, right? And everything you thought it worked, and you just let it all go. And then something magical happens inside the chrysalis, which is that you unfold into a whole new design, right? The energy changes. You become the butterfly. So that doesn't mean there's not work, because, you know, the butterfly's got to push to get out of the chrysalis. So there's still some work for that butterfly to do. But that's the overall model. So how to do that, how to transform, is there's 3 basic steps. You got to get resilient. You got to learn some tools to really get resilient and strong. Tap into a source of power that's bigger than you. The earth is a great source of power. You're standing on it. You know, why not use the earth? Like, tap in to that bigger source of power. Stop trying to muscle it all yourself. The second thing is you got to navigate in a new way. We talked about how when you look at psychotherapy and it's telling you to like sit there week after week and telling stories about on yourself, you know, that is creating like a web, and you're the little fly and you're the spider weaving yourself up into the web. Like, you're just like, here's my story about me. You know, you're identifying, you know, stop doing that. You know, so tell better stories about yourself. Change the kinds of stories you're telling. Make them positive. Don't identify with the labels. You know, really know that you are not that. You are something bigger, and you're having an experience right now. So become aware of what the experience is, what you're learning from it. And, you know, let go of some of the resistance. And then that will all help you do the last part, which is to dissolve and evolve, just like the butterfly. Dissolve everything you thought you were, let it go, surrender, and then evolve, see what's next. Because when we go through that process that is not logical or rational at all, it's very intuitive, and it's you know, it's the divine feminine, you know, in my spiritual terms, but it helps you to find a truer self, your authentic self, outside of all the things that you were doing in your life that you thought you had to do because that's how you were trained to be. That's really what you're resisting. At the end of the day, that's what causes 95% of suffering, is doing stuff that you think you have to do that's not authentic to you.
Oh, I love that. And that's so true. When you're able to find your own voice and claim it, that was the moment that I went, wahoo! I put a high five with myself. But you know, it did take me, there was a certain time when I looked back before I was able to go, wahoo, I can't believe this, I did it. I actually had to put what I said, my proverbial stake in the ground. No more. I said earlier, that point of I'm done. I'm done. And that's the beginning. That's the beginning of the transformation part. But I love the languaging of that. This is all just an experience.
It's just an experience. Here's another metaphor for people. Just like, it's just another way of thinking about it, because this is really what we're talking about, is awakening. So let's talk about just a really simple example. You can be the soup in the bowl, and you never can be anything else but the soup. Or you can realize that you're the bowl. When you're the bowl, you can have anything in the bowl.
All right.
You may not like the soup. It might be spicy, right? It's hurting your tongue. You're like, I don't like this soup. Pour it out. Put some ice cream in. You know, like, when you're the bowl, when you don't identify as the experience, you can have any experience fill your bowl.
Oh, I love that, Kerri. We're just down to the last couple of minutes. I want everybody to know how to get a hold of you, and I know you have a beautiful ebook that you're going to offer our listeners tonight, too. So can you just give us a little shameless self-promotion here?
Yes, I will. So I invite you to learn about butterfly medicine and to read my free book, Reinvent Yourself. And you can access that on my website, KerriHummingbird.com, and it's KERRI Hummingbird.com. And on that front page, you'll also see a link to a free webinar. There's a free live webinar, and it happens periodically. The next one is coming up January 20th, and then after that, they'll be happening periodically. So you can always sign up and catch the next one. So free webinar, free book, and you'll learn about butterfly medicine. And it's kind of a different approach to dealing with these life challenges in a whole new way that creates some magic and possibility. It's fun.
Oh, it's delightful. Your webinars are always so much fun and entertaining and educational. I just love them, but you keep them light and joyful as well. So thank you so much, Kerri, for being on the show. I so appreciate you and all your wisdom. I know that our audience has just been bathing in it.
And fantastic. I really honor your journey. Thank you so much, Sharon, for all you do. It's such an inspiration to everybody that's listening into your show. It's such a gift.
Oh, well, thank you, my dear. Everyone, before I forget, run over to lifeinterruptedradio.com and look for Transcribe Tribe. The team here has been transcribing, this will be 156th episode, so we're not quite done with all of them. If you don't find the one you're looking for, drop us a note at the contact page, and we'll be sure to get on it right away. But we're getting really close to having all 156 of them done. We're down to just the last few. So be sure and join Transcribe Tribe to get your free transcripts of all the shows, because it's sometimes really helpful. Like, I know she said something, but I don't remember what part of the hour. Is just to download the transcript and find out her website and find out that you can get the wonderful free ebook, Reinvent Yourself, over at kerrihummingbird.com as well. Everyone, have a great weekend, whatever your adventures, and as always, enjoy.
The information provided on lifeinterruptedradio.com is for educational purposes only. What you hear, read, and see on Life Interrupted Radio is based on experience only. The information presented here should never be used for any legal, diagnostic, or treatment purposes. Always seek sound legal, medical, and or professional advice regarding any problems, conditions, and any of the recommendations you see, hear, or read here on Life Interrupted Radio. You've been listening to Life Interrupted Radio. To learn more, listen to other shows, and gain free resources that can help empower your life, be sure to stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com.
Do you want to be a better leader, have better relationships, become more self-aware, be a better communicator? Hi, I'm Sharon Sayler, best-selling author, professional speaker, and executive coach. And my life passion is empowering professionals to be the best that they can be. After years of working with professionals, I've discovered the 7 things nobody is telling you that can cost you your clients, sales, and even your career. And I want to give it to you free. You've heard my show, you know my passion, and maybe we'll be working together sooner rather than later. So go grab this ebook now to find out the 7 things that's costing you big time over at SharonSayler.com/radio gift.